Folks, welcome again to another episode of the Soul Sessions. I'm your host, Soul, and with me today, your friendly neighborhood babyface douchebag wrestler with the vision to change the world, Billy Dixon. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, Billy. So, Billy, for our fans who are not be familiar with you and your career, how did you initially get into wrestling?
I watched wrestling with my grandparents, and I kind of sparked something in me. And then when I was in college, I went to a live event, saw Sasha Banks, well now Mercedes Monet wrestle, and she changed the game for me in so many ways. Then I dropped out of college and started wrestling, and we're here now. And I wrestle on the independents. I wrestle for companies like GCW, Fight Club Pro Wrestling, Enjoy Wrestling, Uncanny Attractions. Um, I get around a little bit. I get around a lot. And hopefully in 2023, before.
I think your mic's gone, Billy. Is it? Are you covering the mic piece by any chance?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, pal.
Okay, I'll start over.
No.
I started watching wrestling with my grandparents, and it sparked something in me. I was in college, and I was not really happy in college.
Mhm.
Um, so I went to a live event called Sasha Banks Wrestle, and she changed the game for me. She's one of my favorite wrestlers. Her name's Mercedes Monet now, but I dropped out of college the week after I went to the live event, and the rest is history. I wrestle on the independents. I wrestle for companies like GCW, JCW, Enjoy Wrestling, Uncanny Attractions. I had my own company called Pro Wrestling Vibe.
Mhm.
I've traveled all over the country, and I love what I do.
Absolutely. You've done well for yourself, my friend. But dropping out of college, was that quite a daunting task to do?
It was the easiest decision I've ever made.
Wow.
I didn't want to go to college. Actually, I wasn't super inclined. But I, uh, I, I needed a reason. You know, I had no
Mhm.
other direction in life. And then I found my direction when I sat and watched a show for the first time in a very long time, and I just like something in me just pulled, and just said,
Mhm.
"Hey, this is where you're supposed to be."
No, of course, absolutely. When you initially started to watch wrestling as well, was there certain performers that really drew your attention and made you think they're the people that inspire me to do this now?
Now that I'm older, I think I just love everyone and I love all wrestling because the kind of wrestling I like is it crosses several different genres. But growing up, China was a huge inspiration to me. I like Chris Jericho. I loved um, Mick Foley. Oh my God, I love Mick Foley. I loved the Hardy Boys and Lita. I loved WWE women's division. Always been a huge fan of women's wrestling from a young age. I love jazz. As I got a little older, I found my core two people that inspire Billy Dixon, which is
Hmm.
Aja Kong and Dusty Rhodes. They are to me like you put those two together, you get me. So
Yeah, absolutely. I
yeah.
mean, they're two legendary performers in themselves, but especially Aja Kong as well, especially what she's done in the business, even in Japan as well. What
Yeah.
about Aja Kong do you think is maybe so important?
What about her? Like what drew me to her? Or
Yeah.
um, I think that it was the first time I saw a performer that looked like me,
Hmm.
and there are I wouldn't say there are many, but I think we have a lot in common,
Hmm.
and I think she weathered uncharted territory, and she was the first of her kind in a lot of respects, and to be someone of mixed race in Japan at that time was not easy, and she worked very, very hard. And I think it's that she was a very, very um, alternative looking woman in women's wrestling in Japan, which has a history of really loving glamour and really loving flamboyant presentation in their performers. And she was just one of the few women at the time. I mean, it's changed a lot throughout the years, but one of the few women at that time that was really rough and tough and really had very little femininity to her. I thought that was so punk rock and cool. And I think just she just was brutal, and just I just her story is very similar to mine. Her real life story
Hmm.
with like her father and stuff like that is very similar to my story. So the more I've learned about her and researched about her, I just felt like a soul tie with one of my heroes.
No, of course, man. Of course, I hear you there. Obviously, you say, having someone to be able to relate to and, looks like you sort of situation. Well, we've seen representation in wrestling improve and, more accepted. We've had Big E and Bobby Lashley become WWE champion, especially with Kofi Mania in the past. It shows that, having someone to relate to is so important, Billy. And I want to ask you this, with what wrestling is striding for, do you feel like there's more room for other advancements in that? Do you feel like maybe there's something missing?
Oh, I think we can always do better. I would love to see more diversity at the top of the card. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you look, the WrestleMania main event has never had like Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, two people of color in the main event. That's the only one ever happened. The only other person of color to main event WrestleMania is The Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to see that. I
Yeah.
really would. I would like to see more opportunities at the top of cards, and in other positions in wrestling. I think having younger, I think it's beyond race. I think younger people in positions of power would do on the mainstream level would do a world of good. Uh, I think having more women in the writing room would be really good. In particular, I think women's wrestling would benefit from female perspective telling their
Mm-hmm.
stories. You know, men don't know what it's like to be women, so I think we would benefit from that. I think that we have a long way to go. I mean, on the independent circuit, companies I work for, I think there's a lot of companies that are doing a great job of having equity and representation. But I think there's bigger companies on the independent, some I work for, some I don't, that really could make some strides and really make a mark um, to improve.
Yeah, of course. One of the companies that's doing so well with representation is GCW. With Effie's gay bunch and all that, and GCW is for the culture as well. What is it about GCW you think that it's not afraid to embrace everyone and show that everyone can be propelled into main event status and having their own shows?
I would say that that wasn't always the case, in all honesty,
Okay.
but that um, I think that Brett Lauderdale and the other folks that work office at GCW uh, listen to the fans, and I think that they have made progress, and there's more they can do. There's a lot more they can do. I won't say that it's perfect, but I will say that I think that they did listen to the fans' feedback, and changes have been made, and changes are being made. And I just think I can't tell somebody how to run their business, but I think that in due time we'll see more and more positive changes in the product. That's my hope, at least, that we'll see more representation on the shows. But I think having shows like Big Gay Brunch or the culture are really, really important to show marginalized communities their ability to draw money, their ability to keep entertaining, their ability to showcase their equal, or showcase that they have something different to offer, but that still is a moneymaker, and that still is important. And I've been blessed to book for the culture this year, um, and I really hope that we all show on these shows that we have something very cool to offer.
Of course, absolutely. And something as well with GCW is that you and Hoodfoot would be, the first black wrestlers to main event a death match as well. Kind of a historic thing for you. And congratulations for that, Billy. What did that mean for you to have that proper main event representation in a death match format?
Um, uh, it's you know when you're in the lead up to these things, you don't think about the history. Like, you're cognizant of it. Like, I saw when it was announced, like it was the first all black death match main event. We're almost a year removed, and I could get choked up talking about it. It's really an honor to have my name in the history book. No one take that away from me or Hoodfoot. No matter what happens in wrestling, we were the first two men to hold hands to make the history. I have all the love and respect in the world for Hoodfoot, and I'm appreciative that AJ Gray booked that match and gave me the opportunity, because I don't have the most deathmatch experience, but I am more than willing to show how much I love this business, and I will put my body through incredible amounts of pain from my heart. Uh, I, uh, I, I, I don't think that deathmatch is like racist or anything like that. I just don't think black performers have been inclined or thought that that's something they would want to do. There's a lot of different reasons why you don't see a ton of groups of people in deathmatch. It's a very intense and
Mhm.
a very passionate and a very kind of sticks to the old school a lot in deathmatch.
I
But
see.
everyone in deathmatch is loving and accepting and gracious. And to have Alex Cologne, you know, legend, watch my match. I walked through the curtain and said that was pretty good. Like that means
Mm.
a lot. To have Joey Janela,
Mhm.
who is, an icon, tell me that last year I got the biggest pop of the collective over Minoru Suzuki. That does mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
So we made history, but I think what's also important is that by making history and by having that opportunity, we showed that we can be on equal footing to our counterparts, our
of course,
counterparts in wrestling. So
of course,
we are
Billy.
grateful.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And you mentioned the fans there as well. The GCW fan base are a very dedicated and hardcore bunch. They've got their love and their passion, and they always come for shows. I want to know, Billy, wrestling in front of the GCW audience. Is it kind of like a surprise at first with how much their passion's out there, or is it something that really energizes you in the ring?
Oh, I love the GCW fans. I will say that there's a difference between fans that are in person and fans that are online behind the keyboard. Uh,
Uh,
I am the kind of person who I've made the decision in my career. I am not about star ratings. I'm not about match of the night. I'm not about that kind of thing. That's just not me. I'm about the live crowd, and if you watch online and you dig it, that's cool too. And if you like it, that's cool. And I can take criticism. I'm a theater kid. I've taken criticism my whole life. But I'm about the live experience. I'm about it's you and it's me, you being proud. And we're gonna go on this ride, and let's go. Let's get this together. They are so loud, and they are so boisterous, and uh, uh, they are hard to please sometimes. Sometimes they're like, we want greatness, and you will get
mm,
greatness. And it is a huge platform. I mean, some of the largest crowds I've ever worked in front of were at GCW. So they've shown me nothing but love. They've been incredibly kind, incredibly welcoming, and they have made their voices heard that they would like to see more and more of me throughout the years, and hopefully they get their wish. I'm not a full time member of the roster yet. Maybe that changes. But they have been very great to me, Pine Chris.
well, good to hear, my friend. Good to hear. And now you were former champion as well. You hold the Fight Club Chocolate City Championship. And you held that for over 800 days as well, which is fascinating in
Yeah,
itself.
the
Holding that
longest relationship.
exactly as well. My good friend, there's another history book there for you. But what does it mean holding that belt for over 800 days? Do you feel like you get used to the champion status, or is it always still a daunting thing in your mind holding a belt for so long?
Well, I won a belt and then the world ended, so
Uh,
it was like kind of like bittersweet. It was like I won this very cool looking title, and I was like very grateful. And the Fight Club team and I were talking about, well, what is this title? What does it mean? What do we want to do with it, right? And we didn't get a chance to really establish that, and it was kind of more on me at that time because they weren't running because they're very strict about COVID, rightfully so, during 2020, and it was more of like a if you're gonna wrestle, and title, you get to create the legacy. To me, I looked at that title, and I also looked at it in relation to the Pan African World Diaspora Wrestling Championship. And I was like, I'm a big old school fan. I love the Intercontinental Championship, old school. The Mr. Perfect, the Bret Hart one, the one that Cody brought back.
oh,
Uh,
yes.
WrestleMania week this year, kind of crazy, right? I love that belt. I love what it represented. I love that it was about working really hard, and I love that it had a rule. I like stipulations. I like rules, and I like that it meant that if you held that, you would
Mhm.
become the number one contender for the world championship. in 826 days, I wanted to establish that through me holding this title and taking this title with me everywhere I could, defending it. I believe I defended it in like 4 or 5 different states, and against all different kinds of opponents, men, women, non-binary, competitors, hardcore matches, regular matches, incredibly falls matches, all kinds of situations, street fights, that I was leveling up with the championship, and that when the time is right, I, as a number contender, can fight an actual competitive match with current champion Christopher. So
Mhm.
that was the blessing of establishing.
Yeah, no, of course, and it's a well done thing with that championship. I know you mentioned WrestleMania weekend, and you're helping put on a show, the GCW for the Culture. In March 30th. The main event is you with against Willie Mack as well. There's many other great shows for that. So I just want to take some time for the fans who are watching this, or maybe they're traveling to LA. Why should they attend GCW for the Culture?
Oh my God! Well, first of all, the main event is actually going to be Brian Keith versus Super Scorpio.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
that's my favorite match that's on the card, and I think that that is a passing of the torch moment that I think we're going to have. Brian Keith has been on freaking fire for the last 2 years. And he is just not only just like a good dude, but he's like incredibly talented at what he does. He is so very, very as much praise as he gets, he's so underrated. I really love everything about him. And I love watching him. And Scorpio's a legend.
Mm-hmm.
Why I used to watch For the Culture is this isn't like as far as I'm this isn't like a social justice warrior moment. This isn't me wagging my finger, telling you that you should, pay attention to a marginalized group. But I think that this show features some of the best wrestlers in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
it features very unique matches, and it features a really good group of people who give you, I think, different matches that we see with people. You know, there's not a ton of ha ha stunt pulling stuff. DDT's in town for that. There's not gonna be, these, you know, I think black performers, as much as they may not realize it or they may try to emulate like New Japan and stuff, but I think black entertainers in all parts of entertainment are entertainers and have a natural charisma that comes from our
Mm-hmm.
culture, no pun intended, that pours out into the ring. And I think you won't see a show with more flavor than this one. You have all different kinds of black folks in this show. We have women, we have queer folks, we have people of different parts of the diaspora. Because part of part of our experience is that we are we we are from a lot of different places, um, and we have mixed with different cultures. So we have Keita Murray and myself, and Jocelyn Navarro or Afro Latino. You
Mm-hmm.
have you have mixed like Black and Asian folks. You have people from other countries representing other countries too, like a man like Tariq from the UK, 0121. I'm a huge fan. I think he's so great. Him in America just killer. He's gonna be so good. And you got people who have made it. Scorpio, Myron Reed. You have Kenny King. You have so many people at very different parts of their careers, but a lot of success. AC Max, of course, openly gay world champion in wrestling history, on the show as well. So I think you're really going to see, I think if you say black wrestling, you may have one thing in your head. The show will show that there is no such thing as one way. We're not monolithic. We're a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of different people.
No, well, I mean, hey, viewers, you definitely got to check this out. If you're going into LA, that whole city is going to be ravaged by wrestling fans. It's going to be taken over. You definitely get your arses out there and watch some other wrestling as well. But GCW, Fight for the Culture, is going to be a hell of a show. But I want to know, Billy, wrestling during Mania weekend, where everything's all crazy and everyone's flying in, it's going to be a surreal experience, right?
It goes by so fast. It doesn't feel like it when you're in there. It doesn't feel. It feels like the longest week of your life because you're waking up, you got a show, you're going to this, you're doing that. You're not getting enough sleep. You're not really eating great either because
Yeah.
For the Culture will be at midnight, 11:59. Excuse me, sorry, Brad. 11:59 Thursday night, which means the show won't be over probably till like 2:30 in the morning. So it's gonna be open, drunk, and then you go and you sleep a couple hours, and then it's time to get up and do the next activity, and it's not just GCW Collective. we're booked for so many other things happening this week. It is crazy. It is crazy, and but it's fun. It's the biggest week of the year. Uh, Everyone who's been booked has worked really hard to get to
Mhm.
this point. I tell people, take some time to celebrate because this is the biggest party. It doesn't get better. I'm
Exactly.
excited. And I've
Ex-
never been to California before, so I'm very excited.
Well, get some sightseeing done, Billy. Enjoy the sights and then wrestle your
Yes,
arse off and win the day.
yes, that's my goal. My goal is to uh, work hard and then play harder.
Good man, good man. That's what I like to see. Well, Billy, we're coming to the end of our time here on the Soul Sessions, but I very much appreciate you coming on. And what I do with every guest, if they've loved what they've seen of you and they want to see more of you, what kind of more dates have you got lined up in the future?
Oh boy. Okay, top of my head. I will be returning after Mania. I'm taking a little bit of a break, but I am returning April 20th. I'll be in Hampton, Virginia, for Brew Wrestling, which is some great bar wrestling. I'll be in Chicago, April 27th, for Second Wrestling, wrestling Brogan Finley. First time having that. I'm very excited. May 13th, I'll be at Uncanny Attractions in Austin, Texas, and I believe there may be a championship match involved with
Mm.
the first ever Uncanny Attractions meet. I have, I got a lot of stuff going on. Follow me on my social media at the Billy Dixon. I post my dates all the time. I can't remember what I'm talking
Oh, exactly.
about.
And don't worry, folks. Billy's Instagram will be in the description below. Check him out, follow the journey, and see where he's going to be next. Well, Billy, I very much appreciate you coming on the Soul Sessions. Viewers, remember to check out episodes and everything here on the Soul Sessions. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely day.